Hello guys, I'm Adam and welcome back to my channel where I try to make a tabletop role-playing game from scratch. And today we're starting with the castle. Finally, we're going to go for the castle. We've been doing a lot of stuff lately with, equipment and different rules and such, and now I want to just go back a little bit, focus a little bit on the adventure part and therefore the castle. Now, an adventure consists of, just a series of encounters, and I could do this with the castle as well, just create a series of encounters that I think are fun and interesting and string them together and make an adventure. But this is slightly different because I want the players to have a specific experience, and that experience is exploration. And there's a difference between having the characters explore the world and the players exploring the world. Now, saying let the characters explore, that is a regular dungeon crawl, going from one place to the other, rolling some dice and some perceptive checks and see if you find something new, roll a research check to see if you understood something new in this old library, something. But again, that's not the players feeling that they're exploring this world. That's the characters doing it, and the players are rolling dice. Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there's a difference between the two. Now, I want the players to feel like they're exploring, and in order to do that, you have to set up things in a little bit different way. At least I want to do it in a little bit different way. And I'll talk about it in a later video about rewards and discoveries and so on, and how I want to use that mechanic in the game or in the adventure itself. But what I will do with this castle now in particular is to build it in a slightly different way than just having a series of rooms. And there's a specific reason for that, which I will tell you later. And so let's just start with a castle. Now, I'm going to just do an overview this episode. The castle itself, I will probably spend, 100 episodes to make. You see, the entrance itself took 5-6 episodes, so the whole castle will definitely take a long time. But I'll do it like some back and forth thing, like I did with the entrance. So, doing a small section, breaking it up, polishing it, then maybe doing some more mechanics and rules and such, and then go back to the castle and go back and forth in this way. But the castle itself, when we're going to build this castle, I'm going to do it in 3 stages. In stage 1, I'm going to build a realistic castle or plausible castle. And what I mean about realistic castle is exactly that, a castle that could have been built in the real world. And that means that I want to have everything, the correct terminology, the correct defense layouts, and the different functionalities that are within the castle. I want to put in and create and model a realistic large castle that could possibly have been made in the real world. And stage 2 will be to remodel the castle. So the idea here is exactly like what I did in the entrance of Castle Everhollow, where you have a realistic castle design with a swinger and towers and an entrance and so on, and you have the drawbridge and portcullis and all of these things, and that are part of a realistic castle. But then I want to go into each of the functionalities of the castle itself and see if can this be done with magic instead of doing it in the realistic way, which again will happen what we did right here with this entrance, where, well, instead of having another portcullis and drawbridge, which would be very suitable in this location right here, I'll have this portal here, which is a magical portal that you can go through if it's turned on, and if it's turned off, you can't go through because it's 3-5 meters of stone. So yeah, that's not realistic, and so that is what I want to do in each and every part of this castle. Try to see what designs like a regular gatehouse, what designs like this gatehouse can I exchange with some sort of magic, and more specifically this dimensional magic that I talked about earlier. So that's what I'm going to do in stage 2. And finally, stage 3, that is to ruin the castle. And ruining the castle means exactly what you think it means. I will go through each and every part of the castle and ruin it, break it down, and from those ruins create an encounter that will be interesting. And you might say that is a lot of work for maybe a little game, but again, this is the way I like to do it. But it also is, it keeps, now again, you might say this is overdoing it a lot, and it certainly is. And I don't expect Dungeon Masters to do the same thing. But the thing is that, first of all, this will be the core blueprint and a foundation for, well, every adventure that, well, hopefully other GMs will pick up this and look through it and be inspired by the whole thing to run it in their way. And so I need to have a solid foundation. But also, there's this part with the exploration part, and this part here is a way to solidify how exploration can be achieved as an experience, which I will talk about in a different video. But yeah, so as you might have noticed, this is exactly what we did here. So first I created this here regular castle, which is a functional castle entrance design. Then I inserted these portals to remodel it, and then I ruined it by, well, closing this portcullis, closing this thing here where you have to move these things around and so on, and make a trap here and all of these things. And that is exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of the series. So we're just gonna go right at it. I did some editing magic here. Yeah, I thought it wasn't that interesting to look at me drawing the whole thing. So, but here it is. And over here I'll do a more diagram version of it, but I'll just explain what's going on here. So here's the beach which the boats will land on. It's down here. So this is where the refuge is and the settlement and so on. And then you go to the entrance, which is here. And here you have the gatehouse and the singer, and the entrance stops here. Now, after that, you have the whole outer bailey, which is right here. This is the whole outer bailey. And then you have the inner bailey right here. So the outer bailey will have, well, different functionalities such as docks and a lighthouse and markets and the whole town with people like cobblers and blacksmiths and farmers and all of these people that live here in this area. And here they will also have a small canal that will run trip hammers and mills and such, so that they can have water power and fresh water. Now again, I haven't seen real castles with a canal running through it. I think that's very it's not very realistic, but I think that I want to do it, and mostly because I want to have different like water puzzles and having flooded areas which you have to drain, and areas that are not flooded that you need to flood and so on to move around and move obstacles and so on, and having water available to you, and then using water and canal and different portals and opening and so on. That will be a very fun puzzle or fun encounters that the players will have. So I'm, again, not very realistically, but again, it's going to be fun to play with water, so that's why I'm putting it in. Then you have down here in the closest part to the outer bailey, but the closest to the entrance here, you have training grounds, stables, and mostly things for the soldiers. And then you have a lower dungeon for criminals right here. And then you have barracks. So here, this will be another intersection. This is probably the next thing I'll tackle, which will be the intersection right here, where one leads you into the inner bailey and the other entrance leads you into the outer bailey. And so that will actually be a fun thing for the players to see. They have a choice here to either go into the inner bailey or the outer bailey, and maybe, depending on how I angle this, I could just have the inner bailey locked behind ruins or behind something, so that the players are not able to move into the inner bailey and have to solve the outer bailey first as a giant puzzle, and then be able to get into the inner bailey. But I'll deal with that later. Anyways, so in here you have the keep, the main keep where the king and queen live, and then you have barracks for the soldiers, some upper living quarters for, well, nobilities or high status people like, I don't know, artists and blacksmiths and those that do a quality job and have a higher pay grade than the people in the lower quarters. And then we have a tilt yard for jousting, basically, and some trebuchets for firing at everyone who is for here and coming along with the boats. And then you have the crypts for dead people. And behind, on the other side here, you have a graveyard for the regular people, so that I'm thinking maybe that there's a throughway entrance or something here, so that because commoners, I'm guessing, I don't have a religion yet here, but I'm thinking that religion would want this holy ground to be right here, and so that the regular people will be in the graveyard on the outside of the on the outer bailey, while the rich people will be in the crypts in the inner bailey and still fairly close to the temple itself. And then you have a lighthouse that will help along with the docks and everything. And I think this is sort of the main overview concept of how I'm going to make it. But I'm actually going to make this into a diagram so it's easier for both you to read and follow along what's going on here, and for me to actually plan this out. So I'm just going to start with that. Okay guys, so here we are again. This is a very big diagram of all the different things, and each of these are encounters, or actually multiple encounters. As you can see, the entrance itself is just 5 encounters, and well, many of these will be 1 or 2 or maybe 10 different encounters. So yeah, it's a big thing. But so you can, as you can see here, you can go into the entrance to the Bailey entrance, which is this part right here, and from here you can choose to go to the training grounds, and from the training grounds you can go to the lower dungeons or the stables, or into the town. And in the town you can go to the granary, mills, trip hammers, the lower living quarters, lighthouse, and the docks. And in lower living quarters, those are the markets. And then from the, you can also go into the inner bailey, which will, oh yeah, the great, yeah, there will be like this. So you can go into the inner bailey, and here you have access to the tiltyard, temple, the keep, the upper living quarters, and the barracks, and the hanging gardens. Not sure what that is yet, but it sounds cool, so I'm putting it in. Then you have the temple, which you can access the crypts and the graveyard. And so as you can see here, you can enter in through the inner bailey right here, or you can walk around and in here. And this is the part where I think this is why I'm building it up like this and building it in many different diagrams and putting it in on a map and making it realistic, is so that these kinds of connections right here can work, so that the players maybe want to go to the keep, but they don't know how to get there. Now they can try to go over here, but it's locked somehow. Maybe there's a boulder right here, and there's no water, because I could set up like, okay, this here is, just draw a lock here, so this is locked, right? So that means you can't go past here, and you can't go past here. And then you have to go over here. If you want to go to the keep, you'll have to go over here and solve some puzzles right here to unlock this. Then it opens right here, but then you figure out, oh, it unlocks this, and you can go to the town, down to the graveyard, and to temples, and then go from temples down to the inner bailey, and then to the keep. Because maybe this one is just locked from from one way in. It's like in those Skyrim dungeons where you have to have like this really large round tour to get to where you want, and when you're done it's like just one locked door and then you go back to the entrance. But in this case here it's more realistic and you feel like you're actually doing exploration and opening up this castle as things move along. And it's easier for me to see how these things are connected. So yeah, I think I'll end it here today. So we've done a lot of things, and in the next video I will try to go into maybe some of these. I'm not sure which ones yet. Maybe something that gives me some inspiration. I'll look at this map once in a while and see what interesting connections I can use here, and then we'll go from there. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and see you later. Please like, share and subscribe, and of course send it to your GM because he'll definitely like it. So see you around.